What if I told you that the one thing you run from on a cold winter day is the very thing you should be running towards? We've all done it. The wind starts howling, you feel that bite in your bones, and you immediately look for the calmest, most protected spot on the lake. It just makes sense, right? Well, today we're going to tear that old idea to shreds. I'm going to show you why that biting wind might just be your best friend for winter fishing, and why hiding from it is probably the #1 reason you're going home empty-handed. Stick around, because what you learn today could completely change how you fish for the rest of your life. So let me ask you this right now. Is wind your friend or your enemy? Let me know in the comments before we even get started. For generations, the conventional wisdom has been passed down from father to son, from one fishing buddy to another. When the wind blows, find shelter. It's logical. It's more comfortable for us. We can feel our line better, control our boat or position on the ice easier, and we don't have to deal with waves crashing or snow blowing in our faces. We associate calm, quiet conditions with good fishing. It's an instinct that's been drilled into us for years. We see a windy forecast and we either cancel the trip or spend the whole day tucked away in a cove, wondering why the fish aren't biting. The problem is, we've been thinking about our own comfort, not the fish's. We've been treating the wind as an inconvenience to be avoided, rather than a powerful environmental factor to be exploited. First, let's stop thinking of the wind as just air. On the water, wind is an engine. It's a force that creates current, moves water, and stirs things up. In the dead of winter, when many lakes can become stagnant and stratified, the wind is a life-giving force. It's a massive, invisible paddle that churns the surface, infusing the water with dissolved oxygen, especially in the shallower areas. Think about it. Fish, even in cold water, need oxygen to be active. A calm, stagnant bay might look peaceful, but it could be an oxygen-deprived dead zone. The area getting pounded by wind, however, is being supercharged. It's like opening a window in a stuffy room. The wind is the force that kickstarts the entire aquatic ecosystem on a day when things would otherwise be slow and lethargic. It's not just an annoyance, it's a catalyst for activity. So, how does this engine actually help you catch fish? It all comes down to the food chain. The entire process starts at a microscopic level. The wind pushes the surface water across the lake, and with it, it pushes plankton. Zooplankton and phytoplankton are the base of the food pyramid. They might be tiny, but they are the primary food source for baitfish like shiners, shad, and minnows. These baitfish have two choices: either fight the current the wind creates, burning precious energy, or go with the flow. Naturally, they take the easy route. They get pushed along with the plankton-rich water, creating a massive, mobile buffet. And where the baitfish go, the predator fish are sure to follow. The wind essentially creates a food delivery service, and the destination is always the same: the wind-blown bank. Let's talk more about that oxygen. The process is called aeration. When wind blows across the surface of the water, it creates waves. The breaking of these waves traps air and forces it into the water, dramatically increasing the dissolved oxygen levels in that specific area. In winter, this is critically important. As water gets colder, its ability to hold oxygen increases, but if the water is stagnant under the ice or on a calm day, there's no mechanism to replenish it. Fish become sluggish, their metabolism slows down, and they aren't actively feeding. Now introduce a strong wind. Suddenly, one section of the lake is like an oxygen bar. Fish from surrounding areas will naturally gravitate towards this zone of superior water quality because it allows them to be more active and energetic. They feel better there, and an active fish is a feeding fish. The concept of the wind-blown bank is the single most important takeaway from this entire video. If you remember one thing, let it be this. This is the shoreline that the wind is blowing directly into. It is, without a doubt, the most uncomfortable place for you to be. It will be choppy, cold, and loud. But for a predator fish, it's the dinner table. All of that plankton and all of those baitfish we just talked about are being physically pushed and pinned against this bank. They get concentrated into a small area, disoriented by the waves, and have nowhere to escape. For a walleye, a bass, or a pike, this is the easiest meal they'll get all day. They don't have to waste energy chasing bait all over the lake. They just have to sit there, facing into the wind-driven current, and wait for the food to come to them. It's a natural ambush point created by Mother Nature. This isn't just a guessing game when you get to the lake. You can predict the hotspots before you even leave your house. Pull up a map of the lake you're fishing and then check the weather forecast for the wind speed and, most importantly, the wind direction for the day. Let's say you have a steady wind coming from the northwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Look at your map. Identify every single shoreline, point, and structure that has a southeastern exposure. Those are your targets. The northwest-facing shores, which will be calm and protected, are the places you should ignore. You can literally create a game plan of 3 to 4 high-probability spots just by overlaying the wind direction onto a map. This simple 10-minute prep work is more valuable than any fancy lure or electronic gadget you can buy. Now let's get more specific with structure. Points and funnels are always good places to fish, but they become exceptional on a windy day. When a wind-driven current flows across a large open part of the lake and then hits a point, the water has to squeeze around it. This causes the current to accelerate, just like water flowing through a nozzle on a hose. This acceleration further disorients baitfish and creates a perfect ambush location right on the tip of the point or just on the down-current side of it. Predator fish will stack up in these areas. The same principle applies to funnels, which are narrow gaps between an island and the shore or between 2 points. The wind pushes water through these gaps, creating a concentrated flow of bait. These are natural choke points, and on a windy day, they are fish magnets. Have you ever noticed how the water gets cloudy or dirty on a windy shore? That's called a mud line, and you should learn to see it as a giant flashing sign that says, "Fish here." The constant pounding of waves against a shoreline stirs up sediment from the bottom, creating a band of turbid, murky water. While we might prefer crystal clear water, predator fish love this stained water. Why? It gives them a massive advantage. They can hide in the murky water, completely unseen by the baitfish that are being pushed in from the clearer water. It's the perfect camouflage. A walleye can sit on the edge of that mud line, practically invisible, and simply pick off any unsuspecting minnow that crosses the line. The mud line is a dinner bell. If you find one, especially one that has some rock or weed cover mixed in, fish it thoroughly. Let's put ourselves in the fins of a baitfish for a moment. On a calm day, you're relatively safe. You can see predators coming and you can move freely. Now a strong wind kicks up. Suddenly you're being pushed in a direction you don't want to go. The waves are crashing over you, making it hard to see and breathe. The water is getting cloudy and you're being herded along with thousands of your buddies into a shallow, unfamiliar area. You're panicked, confused, and vulnerable. This is the scenario that predator fish live for. They are built for these conditions. Their lateral lines can detect the frantic vibrations of a struggling school of baitfish from a long way off. They use the chaos as cover. The wind effectively rings a triangle and signals that the easiest meal of the day is now being served on the windy bank. Your lure selection needs to adapt to these conditions. On a calm, clear day, finesse and realism are key. But in the chaos of a windy day, you need to get noticed. This is the time for baits that make noise and create vibration. For bass, a rattling lipless crankbait or a vibrating blade bait is perfect. For walleye, a jig with a larger thumping paddle tail that displaces a lot of water is a great choice. Don't be afraid of bright, flashy colors like chartreuse, orange or fire teacher. In that stirred-up, murky water, these colors will stand out and draw strikes from fish that are hunting by sight and sound. You're not trying to trick them with subtlety. You're trying to appeal to their aggressive, reactionary instincts. They hear or feel a thump, see a flash of color, and they attack. Here's another subtle advantage you gain in the wind: stealth. Think about how quiet a calm winter day is. Every sound travels. Dropping something on the deck of your boat or even walking heavily on the ice can send vibrations that spook fish, especially in shallow water. Now add a stiff wind. The sound of the wind itself, combined with the constant slap of waves against the shore or the ice, creates a blanket of white noise. This ambient sound masks the noises you make. It allows you to get closer to your target area without alerting the fish to your presence. You can make a cast that lands a little too hard, and the fish might not even notice over the din of the waves. The wind is your acoustic camouflage, and it's a huge, often overlooked benefit. Let's apply this to a specific species, the winter walleye. Walleye are famous for their sensitivity to light and their preference for low-light feeding periods. A bright, sunny, calm day is often the toughest time to catch them. The wind changes that entire equation. The surface chop created by the wind diffuses sunlight, reducing light penetration into the water. This is called walleye chop for a reason. It effectively creates an artificial low-light condition, even in the middle of the day. This makes the walleye feel more comfortable and encourages them to move shallower to feed. So you combine this walleye chop with a wind-blown rocky point or shoreline, and you have the absolute perfect recipe for a fantastic midday walleye bite that other anglers hiding in the calm coves are completely missing out on. What about winter bass? While their metabolism is much slower, they still position themselves to take advantage of an easy meal. On a windy day, largemouth bass will use any available cover on that wind-blown bank as an ambush spot. Look for lay-down trees, dock pilings, or even large boulders. The wind will be pushing baitfish right into this cover. The bass won't have to move more than a few inches to grab a meal that's delivered right to its doorstep. A slow-rolled spinnerbait bumped along the edges of that cover can be absolutely deadly. The key is that the bass won't be in the calm water behind the cover. They'll be on the windy side of it, facing into the current, waiting for the food to arrive. It's a subtle but crucial difference in positioning. Northern pike are primarily visual predators, but don't let that fool you into thinking they only hunt in clear, calm water. They are masters of the ambush and use the chaos of a windy day to their full advantage. The stirred-up water and wave action help conceal their large bodies. They will often hold tight to the edges of weed beds on a windswept flat. As schools of baitfish get pushed over the top of the weeds, the pike can launch an upward attack from a position of near invisibility. The same lures that work for bass, like noisy crankbaits or flashy spinnerbaits, will trigger aggressive strikes from pike in these conditions. They are opportunistic, and there is no better opportunity than a buffet of disoriented baitfish being served up on a windy shoreline. Now we need to directly address and debunk the calm cove theory. It feels so right, but it's almost always wrong on a windy day. Why is that calm, protected water so often devoid of life? Because everything of value has been pushed out of it. The wind is acting like a broom, sweeping all the plankton and baitfish away from the calm shore and depositing them on the windy shore. The water in the calm cove might be a degree or two warmer, but it's a food desert. A fish holding in that calm water is like a person waiting for a pizza delivery at the wrong address. They're wasting their time and energy. Sure, you might find a few inactive, hunkered-down fish, but the active, feeding population of the lake is on the other side, right where the action is. Let's touch on a slightly more scientific concept: temperature and thermoclines. In winter, lakes can stratify with different temperature layers. Sometimes a strong, sustained wind can be powerful enough to actually mix these layers in shallower areas. This process, called wind-driven turnover, can redistribute nutrients and oxygen, and it can move warmer bottom water closer to the surface. This can have a dramatic effect on where fish position themselves. While a full lake turnover is a seasonal event, the localized mixing on a windy bank can create a small zone of more stable and favorable temperatures, drawing in both baitfish and the predators that follow them. It's another subtle way the wind creates a more habitable and food-rich environment in a very specific location. Fishing effectively in the wind requires some gear adjustments. First, you'll likely need to use slightly heavier lures than you normally would. A strong wind can put a big bow in your fishing line, making it hard to feel your bait and detect bites. A heavier lure helps keep your line tighter and maintain better contact. This might also be a time to switch from a light monofilament to a thinner diameter braided line which cuts through the wind much better. If you're in a boat, mastering boat control is paramount. Use your trolling motor to keep your bow pointed into the wind and use controlled drifts to cover water effectively. On the ice, make sure your portable shelter is anchored down securely on all corners. Don't let the conditions beat you. Adapt your gear to conquer them. We cannot talk about fishing in strong winter winds without a serious mention of safety. This is non-negotiable. Winter conditions are inherently dangerous, and wind multiplies those dangers. On open water, a strong wind can build up large, dangerous waves in a hurry. Always wear your life jacket and make sure your boat is capable of handling the conditions. Let someone know your plan. On the ice, wind can create pressure cracks and dangerously thin spots, especially around shorelines. It also dramatically increases the effect of wind chill, making hypothermia a very real and rapid threat. Dress in layers, cover all exposed skin, and know your limits. No fish is worth risking your life for. Be smart, be prepared, and if the conditions feel too dangerous, they are. Ultimately, embracing the wind is a mental shift. It requires you to consciously go against years of instinct and ingrained habits. It's about choosing to be a little uncomfortable in the short term for a much bigger payoff. It's about stopping your search for the most pleasant spot and starting your search for the most productive spot. When you look at the forecast and see a 15-mile-per-hour wind, your reaction should change from a groan to a smile. Your new thought process should be, excellent, the fish will be concentrated and feeding. It's a complete reframing. You're no longer enduring the wind. You are actively seeking it out and using it as a tool, just like you would use your depth finder or your favorite lure. So let's put this all together into a simple, actionable plan. Before your next winter trip, do this. Step 1. Check the forecast for wind speed and direction. Step 2. Pull up a map of your lake. Step 3. Identify 3 to 5 key locations, points, shorelines, or funnels that will be directly impacted by that wind. Step 4. When you get to the lake, go to those spots first. Don't get tempted by the calm, easy-to-fish areas. Start on the windy bank. Step 5. Use lures that create noise and vibration, and use gear that can handle the conditions. Follow these 5 steps, and I guarantee you will start seeing windy days, not as a curse, but as a tremendous opportunity to have some of the best fishing of the entire winter season. So there you have it. The wind isn't your enemy. It's the engine that drives the entire winter ecosystem. It's the current creator, the oxygen infuser, and the food delivery service all in one. The biggest takeaway, the real aha moment, is that for years, many of us have been fishing in the exact opposite place we should have been. We've been huddled in the food desert while the feast was happening just across the lake, right in the teeth of that cold, howling wind. This one shift in thinking from avoiding the wind to actively hunting for the wind-blown bank can fundamentally change your success rate. It's the difference between a day of casting in a dead zone and a day of fighting fish in an active feeding frenzy. Thank you so much for watching. If this video helped you see the wind in a new light, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more tips that go against the grain. Now I want to hear from you. What's the worst piece of old-timer fishing advice you've ever received? Let's get a conversation going in the comments below. Stay safe out there and fish the wind.